I'm Julie Zenner along with Dennis Anderson, and here's what's coming up on Almanac North.
Well, Minnesota's legislative session wrapped up a month ago with many of those new laws going into effect July 1st. We'll talk with lawmakers tonight.
Do you remember what you were doing 25 years ago today? If you lived in the Twin Ports, you might have been part of the biggest mass evacuation in U.S. history due to a chemical spill.
We'll remember Toxic Tuesday with some special guests, and we'll have the week's business headlines.
So don't go away. Almanac North is next. Hello and welcome to Almanac North. Thanks for watching. Denny, many folks are preparing for a long weekend, looking forward to honoring our country on July 4th.
Yeah, that we are, that's for sure. And best of all, I'm hearing the forecast is pretty good weather this coming 4th of July.
Yeah, it should be nice for fireworks.
I think so, yeah.
A few fireworks down in St. Paul this week, so we have a lot to talk about.
Okay.
Let's get started.
All right, thank you so very much, Julie. And the Minnesota legislative session did end in May with a flurry of important legislation passing in the final days, lots of fireworks. Now, in the aftermath, a dispute over a budget item resulted in Governor Mark Dayton vetoing funding for the legislature. While that issue makes its way through the courts, the legislature has now been funded through October 1st. And here to talk about 2017 legislation and more is Representative Julie Sandstede, a Democrat from Hibbing. Representative Dale Lueck is a Republican from Aiken County. And Representative Liz Olson is a Democrat from Duluth. I want to take a moment just to thank all of you for being here. And Representative Sandstede, this was your first legislative session after being elected. How would you grade this legislative session?
A plus.
A plus?
Well, as far as experience goes, it was really a fantastic experience, but very interesting, very eye-opening, like none other that I've experienced just as an adult, as a citizen, surprising on many levels.
Did it work as you thought it would work?
Very much in some ways, and then very different in ways, other ways. Things that I thought would go a certain direction went a completely different direction.
Let's talk about some of those fireworks down in St. Paul this week, because it was a very interesting situation with the governor. Maybe Representative Lueck, you could explain that hidden provision that got the governor so upset this week.
Well, I guess first of all, it wasn't hidden. It was in black and white,
Well,
like the rest of that bill. You know, he's got a lot of smart folks, and it was there, and apparently didn't notice it, or at least he'd already signed the bill into law, and then apparently then he realized that that was in there, so then he went back and line item vetoed it. I don't know if you've noticed, but on Monday they had oral arguments on that court case, and the judge did issue a stipulation that funds the legislature through October, as you mentioned. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to read that, but you should read it. It's 12 pages, and it's good reading, and it gives you a pretty clear idea of the importance of separation of powers, and one body can't override and basically eliminate the voice of another
So what
party.
the governor did, how does that sit with you?
Frankly, disappointing, because I think it's going to be a stain on his legacy for the 8 years that he served Minnesota, and it's unfortunate that that's hopefully not the thing people are going to remember him by. But you really can't reach over and snuff the voice of another body of government out, and that's basically you go read what the judge wrote on Monday, and he was pretty frank about how the Constitution operates, and while we may disagree and we may do a lot of negotiating, but to simply squash another body of state government.
Representative Olson, do you feel differently?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's actually a line item veto that got me into being more interested in legislative advocacy and politics, which was when Governor Pawlenty was in office, a Republican governor who line item vetoed a health care program for the poorest and most vulnerable in our state, the General Assistance Medical Care Program. And so, I mean, I've seen line item vetoes work in different ways with different people in charge, and obviously this one is having points of contention. I think it really drew attention to what's in the bills and the hurried nature of what happens when we write legislation, when we're crunched for time. It's the middle of the night, 600-page bills are coming in front of us. I think all of us would probably agree that that's just not a good way to do business, and because of that, I think we have these very tense endings, which aren't good for anybody. I mean, that's just not good for Minnesotans regardless, so I don't think that's a good way to govern, and I hope we can do better. I mean, I'm frankly surprised we got as much done as we did in a divided government, and to, you know, to Representative Sandstede's point, that was one of the learnings I had as a freshman. We did get a lot done, and unfortunately, this is what's getting all the attention.
Well, we'll move on to some of those other things in just a moment, but first of all, you know, they do say that legislation is kind of like making sausage, and you don't really want to see what goes into it. Is it pretty common from your experience this first year for a lot of things to kind of be thrown into bills at the end?
That was my experience. That was definitely my experience. To a point I made earlier, there was a lot of very excellent work. What people expect, you know, to happen does go on. There's a lot of bipartisan work, and things get done. And then it does seem like at the end, as those omnibus bills are coming through, oh my goodness, there's a great deal thrown in, and it's very difficult to sort through them with a limited amount of time, and things are moving very, very quick to make sure you have a full grasp of what's happening, what's in that bill, you understand it fully and completely. There's a lot that gets done, and that's part of the, unfortunately, the part of the process that I think we can improve on.
I was surprised at the legislative budget being $82 million a year. That seems like a lot of money. What does that fund?
Well, that funds about 600 people, and 201 of them are legislators, and that's the salary. But that's the office, that's our revisers, that's the people that take care of, you know, when we go into the session, there's a clerk and his whole staff there. The people that write those bills, basically, if somebody calls and asks a question and I'm not, you know, really familiar with the details of it, I call on our House research people. And so that's why when I say you defund the legislature, you defund the ability of citizens to really get a first-rate job of representation, because none of us can understand everything about all those bills.
The governor hasn't been real popular with some people because of his stand on mining versus the environment. How does that stand with people back in your home area in the Aitkin area?
It's a big deal with people in my area. You know, I'm from the old Cuyuna Range. We don't mine there right now. Haven't for a good many years, since I was a kid. But we've got, I'll say, the second largest copper nickel deposit in northern Aitkin County. You know, so we've got a real stake in the future of mining. The other thing we've got is at Emily, Minnesota, is literally one of the biggest deposits of manganese on the North American continent. And so we're forestry people, we're mining people. You know, we log, and we do tourism. We do all three of them well, and there's no reason to get into a argument about you can do one but you can't do the other. That just doesn't go over well from where I come from, because we've been doing them well for hundreds of years.
Representative Olson, Representative Rick Nolan got a little bit of flack from folks in the DFL party for bringing Republicans on a tour of some of the mine sites up on the range. Do you think it was a good idea for him to engage in that way and try to reach across the aisle to win people over?
Well, I'm not going to speculate on if that was a good idea or not for the congressman, but I will say, I mean, we often, working bipartisanly is a good thing, I think, regardless of kind of the issue. So I'll just zoom back to say that often the majority of the legislation we pass down, and that was a surprise to me, is bipartisan legislation. And we do better when we work together, and we do better when we understand each other's issues and regions. So from that standpoint, but in terms of like the politics around it, and the last thing anybody wants is probably a Duluth legislator to weigh in on what's going on in that region anyway. So, I mind myself in that regard. But I do say, you know, anytime Democrat and Republicans can come together and work on things, that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Your thoughts?
I absolutely applaud the congressman for doing what he did. I think it was a bold move. I think this is really a nonpartisan issue, not a bipartisan issue, but we are sitting on a mineral deposit like none other, and we have an opportunity in front of us on the range to really, what I see as being an opportunity to push ourselves into the future like never before. And I think Congressman Gosar and Westerman coming up, it was such a benefit. They listened, and I have to applaud them. They listened so genuinely and so intently to our concerns, our issues. They saw the land, they saw the people. You know, we're not looking at doing this in a haphazard way, in a foolish way. We're very conscientious. We want to make sure that what we do wisely, and we do for the benefit of this generation, but for generations to come. And I think everybody seeing that openly and transparently is only going to serve the region and our state and ultimately even our nation best when that happens.
Dale, Congressman Nolan says there will be no mining within the boundary waters, but in land near the BWCA. This is not only a local issue, it's become a national issue. Why is that?
Well, we have to go clear back to 1964 when they created the Boundary Waters Canoe Area, and that was the agreement that within the Boundary Waters Canoe Area, we weren't going to do any mining development or that type of stuff. But the second part of that everybody, not everybody, but a certain amount of people like to forget is the rest of the Superior National Forest would be open to all of the things that we've been doing: forestry, mining, and of course tourism. And that's where the disagreement is. And I'm guilty of being one of those Republicans that gladly joined and applaud Representative Nolan for taking a stand that's, you know, not unanimously agreed upon within the world he works in, within his political party. And it was, you know, and I think Representative Sandstede hit it right on the head. This is really, this isn't a partisan issue at all. It's not. This is about the long-term welfare and economic stability of the next couple generations here in Northeast Minnesota. And, you know, frankly, we've done well. We've produced some of the best and brightest. We haven't always kept them here on the range, but we can continue to do that, and we can do it without harming the environment.
I wish we had more time. We don't. Thank you very much for being here and telling your story.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, let's dig into our news file archive for a look at what was making news 25 years ago this week.
Residents of South Superior is being evacuated. There's been a chemical spill. We need you to evacuate north.
That was today's early morning wake-up call from the Superior Police Department. With only scant details, residents headed for evacuation centers like Westman Arena.
I was kind of scared. I was panicked, so we just got our stuff together and left as soon as we could. We were gone within about 30 seconds, so.
My son and our foster child was sleeping in the tent last night, and they came in the house early this morning, and they said they had a terrible headache and they were throwing up. And I thought, boy, there's something isn't right.
And as word spread of a gas leak, so too did the vaporous clouds and unmistakable odor. Roadblocks were set up near the spill site, but it soon became apparent the cloud was headed across the bay to Duluth.
Hi, are you headed north?
Yeah, we're going back home to Thunder Bay.
Okay, we've got it.
That's when the Minnesota State Patrol blocked off London Road and told residents to avoid the cloud. That included Lakeshore Lutheran Home residents who were taken to Central High School. And so the mass exodus was on. Many headed for Central High School to wait it out.
Well, I'd like to know what's happening and how long it's how long you think it's going to take.
As many as 1,300 residents took shelter from the mysterious odor right here, while volunteers worked to keep these folks as comfortable as possible.
25 years ago today, a freight train derailed, plunging a tanker car filled with benzene into the Nemadji River. The resulting chemical cloud caused a mass evacuation, first in Superior and then much of Duluth below the hillside. If you lived in the Twin Ports a quarter century ago, you probably have a story from that day, and our next guests certainly do. Pat Ryan is a Douglas County supervisor and served on the benzene spill committee. Scott Lyons was the Duluth police chief on that day 25 years ago. And Doug Nelson is a ham radio operator who helped with law enforcement communication on Toxic Tuesday. And thanks to all of you for being here. Toxic Tuesday, it seems like it was just yesterday, but maybe that's, again, just a sign of my age. But Scott, you said that the benzene spill was one of the highlights of your career.
Well,
maybe not a highlight, but certainly a significant point.
It was. I'd been police chief 6 months. Emergency management was something new to me, and so all of a sudden at 2:30 in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, we're getting this call of this cloud. What do we do? How do we do it? And it was interesting for us because we were in Duluth at a command center, emergency operations center, but the event was happening in a different state, in a different county, rural, in Douglas County. So it was an interesting time just in communications.
Yeah. Pat, take us back to that day. Who made the decision to evacuate?
They came and knocked on our door about 2:30 in the morning because
They being the police?
The sheriff's department. The spill was right on the bottom of where I live, and told us we had to leave. And then I got a call because that was my district on the county board. So we have a motorhome, and my husband said, "Get the motorhome and you drive the car in." And we evacuated people to South End first, and then we had to evacuate a lot of people. And we went to Westman Arena, and then we had to go down to the student center at the university. And then I went down into the EOC there, and we had ham radio operators that were setting up because the police department from Duluth and Superior could not communicate. People couldn't, so we put ham radio operators in the police car and went around, and it was carried on and on like that. And we got to go home on the 4th, which I think was in the evening of the 3rd, early 4th, that we got to go back home. And from that, there was a federal judge that appointed a committee. We ended up getting a latent injury fund set up, and well, that's over in 20 years, so now 25 years.
We'll talk about that maybe in a little bit here. Doug, how did ham radio play a role in this? The EOC, of course, Emergency Management Office. How did ham radio get involved with that?
Well, we have a number of organizations in the local area that drill and train to enhance emergency communications for law enforcement and evacuations and stuff. And I was a member of the Douglas County Aries Races group, and the people that set up in the command center over there were ham radio operators. And they knew that our services were going to be needed because of the involvement of the communications that was going to be necessary.
Scott, when did it become clear that this was a danger and people really needed to take it seriously and evacuate? And talk a little bit about how that process went.
Well, Pat and I were just talking a little bit about that. At the time, we were trying to figure out what the cloud was. The sun came up, the cloud, as you saw in the video, was a yellowish, orangish color, and it was low, and it was going now over Park Point, going out over Lake Superior towards Bayfield. We were trying to determine what it was, and that Weather Service told us that the wind was going to shift off the lake about 8:39 in the morning, so we knew that the cloud was coming back towards Duluth. And so we had to make a decision on what was in the cloud. We were trying to talk to the company who owned the rail car, a company out of Alberta. They either didn't know or didn't want to tell us, or there was something going on. Finally, the comment made, we finally had asked the person on the phone, the medical director, if your family was in the way of this cloud, what would you do? And the guy said, I'd get them the heck out of there. So we made the decision just because we did have enough information on what was in that car and why the cloud and what the effects the cloud would have. So we made a decision to evacuate early or mid-morning. Once that cloud started coming back towards downtown Duluth, and we evacuated everything below the skyline, knowing that the cloud was still below that altitude.
How do you even go about evacuating downtown Duluth? Was it a pretty orderly process?
It was,
that
you know,
had
the media.
practiced before? Or?
The Mayor Doty at the time. So we had a media center set up. So we had all the local radio and TV stations were down there doing live broadcasts. So we said we need you to help us. They did. We had DTA. We had the school district. We had everybody involved. It was an amazing. You know, I look back on it and it wasn't a negative part at all, but there was so much that happened and so many people involved, all the law enforcement.
Seemed to work.
Everybody. And you know, we made the calls out of the command center. We had quite a few people in there so we could delegate, and it was amazing how fast it
Pat, have there been any long-term health effects?
No, we had 5 studies done, and they all said there would not be any long-term ones. And the hospital got copies of them, and there's copies at the library. And then they set up the late injury fund. The federal judge had appointed the 3 people for that.
The Burlington Northern Railroad then is about to start releasing now funds to 3 nonprofits. Tell us about that.
No, it would be the committee that the federal judge set up that would be releasing it. And we were to pick Mr. Markovich, and we sat down and he picked UWS Foundation. We had WITC and the Duluth Superior Community Foundation, because that would take in the people that was all through here.
Okay.
And not for buildings, not for wages, but for helping people that were in their health studies. And
So there were no long-term health impacts. What about the river itself? What environmentally happened to the river in terms of the spill and the aftermath?
They didn't see anything for a while. Like I say, I live on top of it.
Yep.
It was. And we didn't see, but for a long time, for about 3 years, we didn't have a lot of birds come back. But we never seen any. There was one farmer that lived around that said his cattle, when his cows were calving, that they had deformed calves and that, but we never. And we called, it was in Ashland at the time, the agriculture company, and they said it wasn't due to that. So we had to go by what the expertise were. And this committee that had to oversee if people filed a claim, we had to look back at that in what their doctors, it was a very strict and very honest, open thing. If they had a legitimate complaint and it wasn't to give you money for if you live to be 50 years from now, it was to pay medical bills.
Sure.
And we really had to scrutinize that money because we had criteria from all these findings we had to go by.
Doug, ham radio has teamed up with emergency management. What did ham radio and emergency management learn from the benzene spill that propels us forward 25 years from now that you can maybe use even better today?
Well, a lot of things happened that day. We learned when we set up our own incident command at the EOC over in Superior. Carl Zukowski at the time was the emergency coordinator. Carl was right in the fire, let's say, for the lack of a better definition. He was right there where all of it was going on. And to control all of the communications we were doing at the time, it was a fatal mistake on our part. And we learned at that point in time that the person in our communications plan that takes control of where everything goes will never be at a place that's that communication. That's one of many.
Scott, as you look back, how well did the region perform under pressure with a situation like this?
You know, your preempt here, everybody came out of it going, where were you that day and what did you do? And it was a good feeling. It was a good feeling. I think I'd liken it to, outside of the terrible things that happened on September 11th, the great things the New Yorkers pulled together and how proud they were of their city and what they did. Same thing, I think, for Duluth and the surrounding areas, Douglas County. We all felt like we did the best we could, and it turned out good.
A lot of viewers might want to know what hazardous wastes are still moving through the Twin Ports.
Same stuff.
Are there? Same
stuff?
Yeah,
same amount of stuff. The cars are a little different these days. The railroads are have consolidated now, and I think they're a lot more aware of.
I don't know how many people know, but that car comes from Canada. at Novacor Chemical. It was on CN. It wasn't the BN train, it was CN. And it came through, they went to Saunders and their crew got off and the BN crew got on. And that same train had sprung a leak a year before, so.
Well, hopefully the railroads learn something in the process too, when we won't have another Toxic Tuesday again. But thank you for coming and
Thank you
sharing
all.
some
Appreciate it.
reflections on that day. Appreciate it.
Okay, let's turn now to the week's business headlines from the folks at Business North. A group of 10 healthcare providers has teamed up with healthcare insurers to create a plan they say will reduce the cost of medical coverage. Wilderness Health and Preferred One have introduced the Wilderness Health Accountable Care Plan, which will be available in northern Minnesota through employers. Participating hospitals include St. Luke's, Lakeview, Fairview Range, and Cloquet Community Memorial. More than 30 primary care clinics are also participating, and sponsors say the plan will be 15% less expensive than open access network products.
In another healthcare development, Essentia Health will invest $14 million to expand its Grand Rapids clinic in partnership with Lakewood Surgery Center. The project will offer more health choices to the residents of Itasca County and surrounding areas. Essentia said the clinic expansion will provide patients increased access to cardiology, podiatry, and orthopedic services, and future access to urology and ear, nose, and throat care.
Well, Superior has received a state grant of $109,000 to help redevelop an old beer distribution warehouse into a new craft brewery. State officials say the project is expected to spur further downtown development. The grant from the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation will be used to renovate a former warehouse in Superior's north end into the new Earth Rider Brewery. The redevelopment is the second phase of a plan to create a $2.5 million brewery, office, and retail space in one building and a beer tasting room in a second structure. For more on these and other stories, visit businessnorth.com.
If you have a comment about our show, call now, dial 218-788-2849 to leave a message, or send an email to almanacnorth@wdse.org. You can also check out the WDSE website when you're looking for program information like PBS's Capital 4th broadcast, live from Washington, D.C. on the 4th of July. And Denny, there's also a lot going on right around here in our region for the 4th of July to honor our nation's 241st birthday next week.
Picnics and fireworks.
All right, lots of it. For Denny and the crew here at Almanac North, I'm Julie Zenner. Have a great weekend, everybody, and a fantastic 4th of July.